but it is some breaking news from this morning, and it must be addressed. Now, I understand there has been some odd recent pushback on Russell Westbrook criticism. People have reminded us that Russell Westbrook is a great father, a great husband, a great tipper. And you know what? I can credit for all of those things. In fact, I think I'm all those things. But I would be a disastrous point guard for a team trying to win an NBA championship. And it is beyond baffling to me that the Clippers are going to step on this same rake that they saw the Houston Rockets step on, that they saw the Los Angeles Lakers step on. I'll leave the Wizards out of it because the Wizards were not actually trying to win a championship. But if you are trying to win a championship, you cannot have this version of Russell Westbrook on your team. Listen, I did for What's Right with Nick Wright, the podcast I do, last year, the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. I had Russ 35th. I had him ahead of Clyde Drexler, ahead of Steve Nash, ahead of Gary Payton. He is an all-time legendary player. That can be true, and this can also be true. In 2023, if you are trying to win games, he cannot help you. He has not evolved as a player. His biggest weaknesses have become more glaring. And the idea that the Clippers, who in a wide-open Western Conference actually have the best chance, I would argue, they have ever had since Kawhi and Paul George came together to get out of the West and go on a real run, potentially to a championship, that this team would opt in to adding Russell Westbrook, it's beyond comprehension. And again, I know that sounds harsh, and I know there are people that are diehard Russ fans that feel like he has gotten, his entire career has gotten disrespected by the media. I agree with many that the previous iterations of Russ were underrated. The fact of the matter is, when he was at his peak, there is real value in his relentless effort, in what he gave you on all phases of offense, even if it was inefficient, because he ate up so many possessions, because he pushed the pace, because he put constant pressure on the defense. That can be true, that he once upon a time was a great player, and once upon a time he wasn't, but he could have been a part of a championship team. But that ship has sailed. That player no longer exists, and the Clippers opting into this they have made many mistakes with the Clippers in letting Kawhi and Paul George run everything. This is the latest, it would appear, as Paul George seemed to be the loudest and strongest advocate for this move. I don't understand why they did it. The media is going to spend all day echoing those sentiments and crushing the players, while taking no personal responsibility for where we are at across sports, in all exhibition games, and in the NBA in particular, where the dunk contest, no one wants to participate in. The AllStar Game, no one wants to try. Hell, regular season games, you don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. And when I tell you the players are a symptom, not the cause, let's zoom out so I can explain it to you. And we'll circle back to the All-Star Game, which obviously was not a real basketball game. And I think you'll understand why this is actually on us in the media and how we talk about sports over the last 10 to 15 years. Because the All-Star Game used to be competitive. And I'm not talking about the 80s and the 90s. Yes, it was competitive then, but I'm talking about 2010, 2012. Up until about a decade ago, this was a competitive game people cared about. So what happened? So let's zoom out for a moment. This past week on television, I made the case that Patrick Mahomes just completed the best 5-year start to a career in NFL history. And to me, it's an obvious case. It is not a hot take. In fact, it is such a clear-cut answer that I didn't think it'd be controversial at all. But of course, the pushback that I got was, oh, what about Brady? And so we can show you Mahomes versus Brady's first 5 years, and I promise you this actually relates to what we saw in the AllStar Game. So they have the same number of Super Bowl appearances. Mahomes has more conference championship appearances. Mahomes has more MVPs. Mahomes has 10,000 more yards, 100 more touchdowns, and the greatest passer rating ever while Brady's was around league average. So why is it not only a debate, but why is it that the majority of people would say, no, the best first 5 years was Tom? Because that first line, Super Bowl wins, count the rings, championship or bust. It's all that matters. The entirety of our profession has turned into, you guys remember that movie, I think it was called Bad Teacher? Jason Segel was in it, and they're in the trailer for it. He's arguing with a little kid about who the greatest basketball player of all time is, and the little kid says to him, because the little kid's arguing, I think, for LeBron, says to him, in regards to Michael Jordan, your only argument is 6 rings. And Jason Segel screams at him, it's the only argument I need. That's what all of sports commentary has become. And then we act shocked when the players act accordingly. All we give you credit for is championships. All we give you credit for is the destination. Nothing for the journey. It does not matter what you do in the regular season. It does not matter what your full body of work is. You either win the title or you're considered some different level of disappointment or failure. And the players understand it did not used to be like that, but it is now. And then we act shocked when the players do make every decision accordingly. Why would I participate in the slam dunk contest? I get no credit. I get no flowers. Everyone obsessed with giving people flowers for anything I do that isn't about winning a title. Why would I play a back-to-back? I get no credit. I get no kudos for putting on a show for the fans in February. All people are concerned about is, am I at my peak come the postseason? So, of course, guys are going to take nights off. Of course, anything that is not directly related to a championship pursuit is going to not just become secondary or even tertiary. It's going to become forgotten. And then we in the media act like we have nothing to do with it. We all just watched LeBron James break the all-time scoring record, a record that had been held for longer than LeBron had been alive, something that we thought of as unbreakable as recently as 5 years ago. And it didn't take 12 hours for that discussion to immediately pivot to, well, how much is it tarnished if the Lakers miss the playoffs? How much does it really matter when the team this year's not going to win a championship? We can't, in the media, preach to the athletes that we cover who follow these shows and who are acutely aware of what is said about them, that the only thing that matters is championships. And then be shocked when guys act in their best interests accordingly. Why would I go all out for the AllStar Game? Why would I risk, even if it's 1% injury? Why would I fight through fatigue and nicks and bruises to play 3 games in 4 nights? Why would I do that when you guys are telling me if I don't win a title, you're going to crush me? You're not going to care about any regular season accomplishments. You're certainly not going to care about any All-Star Game moments. So if you're not going to, why should I? And we want players to take these games more seriously than we do. That's not how this goes. So if we in the media want load management to stop, want the slam dunk contest to mean something again, want the All-Star Game to be competitive again, then stop turning every sports discussion into a count the rings binary conversation. Have some more nuance to it. Give some more credit for accomplishments on the way, even if they ultimately fall short, and then maybe our athletes will react accordingly.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.